Crisp, clean, refreshing. It's a taste like no other.
My mother is 97 years old, and every day that I drop by, the first thing she's looking forward is to having her afternoon Dr. Enuf. She has one every day. Well, my dad, Charles Gordon Sr., was born and raised in Marion, Virginia, just up the road in Smith County, Virginia. My mother also was from Marion, so they met there and knew each other well, and she ended up going to Hollins College in Roanoke. He went to Virginia Tech, studied engineering, and they were married right after graduation, and he got commissioned and headed off to World War II in European as a glider pilot. So after the war, he came home and ended up in Johnson City instead of Marion, mainly because during the war, my grandfather had moved from Marion down to manage and run Empire Furniture Company. So when Dad came home from the war, Mother was here, and my older sister was already born during the war. So we grew up in Johnson City, and he, with his father's help, who then retired from Empire Furniture, decided to build a furniture factory and also a soft drink bottling company. His interest in soft drink bottling started when he was young in Marion, where he worked for summers at the bottling plant there. So he kind of got to know about soft drinks, and he liked the idea, and there wasn't a bottler in Johnson City that was doing the drinks that were represented out of Marion, so he opened an extension of that facility, and that was mostly called Tip Bottling. They were a series of flavors that were popular at the time. But shortly thereafter, he moved on to other brands as he got the plant up and running. Built a couple of Quonset huts on Walnut Street. At the same time, was erecting Quonset huts on Love Street off of Tennessee Street, the old Tennessee Street, for his furniture factory. So he had a lot going on at the time, but they were going up simultaneously in about 1946, 1947. Tri-City Beverage was incorporated and created June of 1947. Well, he was definitely an entrepreneur. His education was industrial engineering from Virginia Tech, but he built the businesses and then he ran them. He did the marketing, he did sales, he did the production, he did the product development. He did it all. The furniture business ended up taking most of his time, so he hired a couple of people to run Tri-City Beverage by the early 50s. And by 1957 or 8, Bill Bridgeforth came along to be general manager, and he stayed until his retirement many, many years later, and he's partly responsible for the development of Mountain Dew as we know it today.
What really caught my interest was Mountain Dew bottles, one of the largest in any museum in the country, actually. 367 bottles, 595 individual pieces of Mountain Dew memorabilia. Bottles, hats, race cars, corncob pipes, everything you can imagine, we've got it.
He picked up at a trade show and learned about Dr. Enuf, which was a brand new drink that a gentleman in Chicago was trying to get bottlers to produce. And he liked the idea, so he started running it, I think in late 1949. And by the early 50s, they had it well in place. I understand that the family who owned Dr. Enuf in Chicago ended up trademarking it, I believe, in 1951. And then by the mid-50s, though, I think Tri-City Beverage was the only bottler still bottling it. Well, Mr. Bill Schwartz was an interesting entrepreneur in himself, and he just had an idea to create a drink that replenished all the, I guess they call nutrients that your body had exhausted in a hard day's work. It was sold as a dietary supplement, a tonic, if you will, to something to pick you up, make you feel better, re-energize you, get you going for the rest of the day. And that's what Dr. Enuf was. It was in a 7-ounce bottle when most soft drinks were 10 ounce. We sold it in 4-packs for 98 cents. So that's basically 25 cents a bottle. And almost all soft drinks of the brands we all knew from back then were selling for only a nickel. So it really wasn't sold or marketed as a soft drink. It was sold as a dietary supplement, something to give you a boost, pick you up. I guess today it'd be called an energy drink. Back in the early 50s, with the help of the advertising gentleman at the Johnson City Press Chronicle, they created a full-page ad on the back of the paper. And the layout made it look like the front page, big extra across the top, and the whole front, that whole page was about Dr. Enuf. And the story goes that they went out and slipped a few bucks or coins to the paper boys to fold them backwards so that when you opened them up, that was the front page, not the back page. Everyone thought that was the headlines of the paper that day.
It's probably the best advertising campaign I've ever seen in all my years in Johnson City. And he had people writing in their testimonials and telling of all the ills that a bottle of Dr. Enuf would cure.
I was nervous, had no appetite, no energy, couldn't sleep. I only weighed 86 pounds. My husband felt badly too. We started taking Dr. Enuf. We have used about 5 cartons. Now I sleep well, have a wonderfully good appetite, and I weigh 100 pounds. My husband says he sure feels better too. In fact, we're both working every day and feel just fine. I can truly say that Dr. Enuf has helped me more than any medicine I've ever taken. I can recommend Dr. Enuf as being the best tonic on earth for anyone who is weak, nervous, and has no appetite. Dr. Enuf will really give you new life.
A lot of it had to do with whether it was arthritis, a sour stomach, whatever that means, headaches, migraine headaches, just that worn down, tired feeling. We all grew up listening to Geritol ads, but I guess Dr. Enuf was right in that category. People would drink their Dr. Enuf and they claimed they were better. They felt better. They cured their ills. Now, I don't know how true that is, but certainly made them feel better.
These testimonial letters had claims of Dr. Enuf curing gout, upset stomach. This was written by a person named Heaton. I was bothered with my stomach, could not sleep at night. After taking 2 cartons of Dr. Enuf, I started feeling better. I can eat anything I want now that I am feeling better all the time. Would recommend Dr. Enuf to anyone who cannot eat but certain things and who is very nervous.
The image of Dr. Enuf was a little doctor with a derby hat and a black bag.
It's just been one story after another throughout the years. You've heard of people that going through chemotherapy or radiation, that it's the only thing that they could keep down on their stomach.
There's testimonials from a World War II vet who had shrapnel in his head and said that he intended to drink 1 bottle every day for the rest of his life. There was a man in Knoxville who ran some sort of business, but he wrote in that he was going to give it to all of his underperforming employees to get them to perk up a little bit and sell better.
We have a family that drive here from South Carolina who swears that their mother doesn't have any UTIs since she's been drinking Dr. Enuf.
He would go in stores like PEREZ and Woolworths and set up these great displays where he'd have these 4-bottle cartons stacked, and he'd have these beautiful banners hung up that says Dr. Enuf is enough.
Originally in the late 40s, and I think all the way into around early to mid 50s, there were other places producing Dr. Enuf. Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, those are places that I remember hearing mentioned. And we've seen ads and signs that must have originated in those places because they're not like any that we had here in East Tennessee. So it did exist, but it just apparently disappeared by the mid-50s, and it was only here in East Tennessee.
This is a paper label bottle from St. Louis, Missouri, and it was bought here locally, but it's the only one that I've ever seen. There are a couple of collectors around who have bottles from Pittsburgh. So Dr. Enuf was in a few other cities around the nation, but it just didn't catch on. like it did here in Johnson City. Well, one of the rare things that we have is the mix bottles, and it's a 4-bottle set on Dr. Enuf, and it had the vitamins and the magic potion in it. So we have a collection of those, and they would pour those 4 bottles into the big vat and add the water and whatever the other local ingredients were to make the drink. And most of those got thrown away after they had used them, so there's just a couple of known sets of those. This is one of the original Dr. Enuf bottles from Johnson City Tri-City Beverage, and it's a paper label bottle, and it came in a 4-bottle carton. And there's not a whole lot of these around because they would put this drink in their coolers with the ice, and being a paper label, it would get wet and the glue would let go and the label would come off. So there's just a few of these around locally. This is the tip grape bottle that Charlie Gordon started Tri-City Beverage with, so this is the one that started it off.
Well, all of it was bottled in glass. The Tri-City Beverage started, and we've just always bottled in glass. I think it has to do with your facility. Our line out here today is a glass line. We can't run cans on it, and we can't run plastic on it. And I say that even though we do run some plastic for our vending machines, but it's very difficult and it's very slow and not very efficient. But we feel like glass preserves the best flavor. The carbonation stays in the glass bottle, whereas that comes out of plastic over time. Shelf life of a plastic bottle drink is only about 90 days, but shelf life of a glass, well-capped soft drink is a year or two. So we like it in glass. Our customers say it's better in glass. And there's just not a lot of glass lines left. Most everyone has gone to cans and plastic. So we run a lot of 10-ounce glass mixers for Canada Dry, Club Soda, tonic, ginger ale. We do it private label for Harris Teeter and Food Line. We do it for a company out of New York called White Rock. So we make a lot of mixers. We are the glass bottler for Cheerwine. Most of their production out of North Carolina is cans and plastic, but they still like their traditional 10-ounce long neck bottle, and we run most of Cheerwine's glass production here. So we have our line full in a variety of drinks, and we're well known for our quality that we produce, and that's why they bring it here. Well, we're delighted that younger people like Dr. Enuf. We see it prevalent on college campuses, and we see it used. They're wearing the T-shirts. They like the idea of what Dr. Enuf has to offer. So if they're going to drink anything that has some sugar in it, I guess Dr. Enuf's a choice. And we're glad to see that. Here's where we mix it up with the concentrate. Right now you see sugars being added. It's in a liquid form, pure cane sugar. Then all of the ingredients gets put into this vat. It's mixed very, very well before it's sent across the wall to the carbo cooler, which then mixes it with the carbonation and everything else to go into the drink. We now only concentrate in Upper East Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, Southeast Kentucky, Western North Carolina. Cracker Barrel does use Dr. Enuf in their old store nationwide, along with a lot of selection of what they call nostalgic Americana drinks. And we thought, well, Pals is a lot like Dr. Enuf. They're an East Tennessee institution. And if we were going to do it for any place, then we decided Pals would be a good one. We decided to do what we call bag-in-a-box production so that they could mix it at their fountainheads.
The herbal was actually a mistake. We were running regular Dr. Enuf, which we thought we were. Well, the person doing quality at the time, he wasn't drinking them. So we ran 1,000 cases. We started getting calls in, what have you done to our Dr. Enuf? It was cherry in the lemon lime. So that's how the herbal came across. We just, when ginseng and guarana was a big thing, all these herbal drinks were out, so we just sort of followed in off those. But the cherry flavor was by mistake. It's a fun business, you know, little things like that happen.
I mean, the people are consuming ginseng the world over. And when we grew up in this mountainous area, you know, hunting ginseng root it's a big deal. So we decided we'd put ginseng in the herbal Dr. Enuf and call it herbal. When diet drinks became popular and people who have reasons to not want to consume sugar led us to believe it'd be a good idea to do diet. We did do some research, and we only sweeten our diet with Splenda.
East Tennesseans are very loyal to us. They've kept us in business.
And even though it's so popular in this area, I still meet people who've never tasted Dr. Enuf, and that's just sad. With it being a small company, we all wear many hats here. I work in scheduling production, purchasing, quality assurance, and it's almost like having celebrity status when people find out that I work for Dr. Enuf. It's, oh, this is the lady that makes Dr. Enuf, or this is Dr. Wanda. That's how I'm introduced. Tri-City Beverage and Dr. Enuf is more than a business. It's a legacy.